In a glass tower in Frankfurt, there's an institution with more financial firepower than almost any country on Earth. It operates with a level of independence that's, frankly, staggering. We're talking about the European Central Bank. And tonight, we're opening the case file.
7 trillion euros. Just take a second to let that number sink in. That's a 7 with 12 zeros after it. A number so huge it's hard to even picture. But this isn't just a number on a screen. It's pure power. It's the financial muscle to shape the destiny of over 340 million people.
You know, the official story is that the ECB is just a quiet, neutral group of experts, kind of like accountants for the continent, just managing our money. But with this much influence, come on, can it really be that simple? Who are the people actually pulling the levers? And, the most important question of all, when they make these massive decisions that affect every single one of us, who do they answer to? Okay, so here's how we're going to crack this case. First, we'll look at the story they want you to believe. Then, we're going inside the machine to see how it really works. We'll dig into the paradox of their so-called independence, check out their controversial new agendas, and finally, we'll ask the big one. Who is really pulling the strings here?
All right, first things first. Every powerful organization has a simple, clean, public-facing story. It's their PR department's greatest hit, and the ECB is no exception. Theirs is a very comforting story, all about stability and protecting you.
And there it is. You see how simple that is? It sounds like a really nice public service announcement, doesn't it? We're the guardians of your purchasing power, making sure a euro today is worth a euro tomorrow. It's a noble mission, for sure, at least on paper. But as you're about to see, the reality is a whole lot messier. So this is the heart of it all, their prime directive, written into law, price stability. And it's not some vague promise, it's a hard number, 2% inflation. That's the Goldilocks number, not too hot, not too cold. And the key word here is symmetric. In theory, that means they hate it when inflation is too high, but they also hate it when it's too low. This 2% target is supposed to be their guiding star, the reason for everything they do, or so they say. Okay, so we've seen the glossy brochure. Now it's time to get our hands dirty. Let's pop the hood and take a look at the engine. And what you find isn't a simple motor. It's a labyrinth of interlocking parts, hidden committees, and layers of power that they don't really talk about in public. Right off the bat, they hit you with some insider jargon designed to be a little confusing. You'll hear people talk about the ESCB. But here's the secret. That's not where the real action is. The true power, the actual decision-making, happens in a smaller club called the Euro system. That's the ECB plus only the central banks from countries that actually use the euro. Think of the ESCB as the big, friendly reception area, while the Euro system is the closed-door boardroom where the real deals are made. So remember that name, Euro system. That's the center of gravity.
So, who's actually in charge? Well, the power is split across these 4 main groups. You've got the rock stars, the governing council. They're the ones who set interest rates and make the big headlines. Then there's the executive board. They're the engine room crew, handling the day-to-day stuff. The others are more advisory, but you've got to watch that supervisory board. That's a newer, very powerful arm that puts the ECB in charge of watching Europe's biggest banks. It's a complex web, and it's all designed to steer that 7 trillion euro ship.
And this just shows you the sheer firepower we're talking about. They don't just have one button to push. They have a whole arsenal. They've got their main interest rates, sure, but they also run these massive open market operations. And during a crisis, they unleash these gigantic asset purchase programs. Let's be real, that's just a fancy term for creating billions of euros out of thin air to buy up government and corporate debt. They can even offer special targeted loans to banks. Each one of these is a massive lever that can literally move economies. And this right here brings us to the absolute core of our investigation. The ECB has all this incredible power, and by design, it's completely independent from politicians. But here's the paradox, the multi-trillion euro question. If they're independent of our elected leaders, who do they answer to? This is where the whole official story starts to unravel. Now, this is the official justification, written right into the EU treaties. The idea, and it sounds pretty reasonable, was to create a buffer. You put a bunch of smart, non-political experts in charge so they can make the tough decisions for the long-term good without worrying about the next election. A noble idea, in theory. But what does independence really mean in practice? Now this is where it gets really good. On the surface, it looks like they're held accountable. The ECB president goes to the European Parliament, they write reports, they answer questions. It looks great. It's like a magic trick. Look over here at all this democracy. But look closer. The Parliament can write angry reports, sure, but those reports are totally non-binding. The ECB can just ignore them. And here's the real kicker. When a new member joins that all-powerful executive board, the Parliament gets to vote on them. But that vote? It's just advice. The politicians who make the real choice can and absolutely have just ignored it. The democratic watchdog, it turns out, has no teeth. So what happens when you have an institution with nearly unlimited power and almost zero real accountability? Well, they don't just sit still. Lately, the ECB has been expanding its mission, wading into some really controversial new areas that go way beyond just fighting inflation. So the question is this a natural evolution, or is it a dangerous power grab? I mean, just look at their new to-do list. The central bank is now working on climate change. It's studying nature degradation. It's deep into the planning for a digital euro, which could totally change our relationship with money. And it's openly talking about geopolitics, about using its financial power to give Europe strategic autonomy. These are huge political projects, a long, long way from that simple, boring job of keeping prices stable.
Let's just zoom in on the digital euro for a second. The promise, the way they sell it, is all about European independence. Why should all our payments go through American companies like Visa and MasterCard? A digital euro gives Europe control. Sounds good. But, and this is a massive but, what about privacy? In a world where the central bank could potentially see every single thing you buy, they say there will be an anonymous offline version, like digital cash. But how is that really going to work when our lives are online? This isn't just about technology. It's a fundamental question about the balance between the state and you.
So after digging through the official story, the hidden structures, the mission creep, we arrive at the verdict. We've seen an institution whose power has exploded while the chains of accountability have stayed loose. So what's the bottom line here?
What we've seen is a classic bait and switch. The institution that was created to do one simple technical job, keeping your money stable, has morphed into a political powerhouse. It's setting the agenda on climate, on technology, on global strategy. Basically, it's become a kind of shadow government for the European economy, but it's one that you can never, ever vote out of office.
And in the end, that's the €7 trillion question, isn't it? The whole idea was to take the politics out of money. But what if, in the process, they accidentally created an institution that's taking money and a whole lot more out of the hands of democracy itself? As the ECB gets more and more involved in every part of our lives, the question isn't just about who controls the money anymore. It's about who controls the controllers. And that is something to think about.